A little bit the beginning of my text, because we saw the film, and in the film, Joel Sternfield was using his iPhone and working and made a book of it, making pictures. And I think digital photography has taken over the analog photography in the field of photo news reporters and the internet. Not only because it works faster, but everybody with a digi camera or a phone who's on the right place and has the presence of mind to shoot the event is at the same time a photojournalist. For instance, I mentioned YouTube, Flickr, databanks with huge information and free access. I show you something about my practical experience, and this is my former Dota. You see a washing machine, some bicycles, no larger, so it's a storeroom. But we are talking about photography and the book. And these guys around me are all into printing, so they probably won't understand anything digital anyway. Photography, not the wall, but the book. In my opinion, the best place for a photo is in the book and not to the wall. I prefer looking at photographs with a book on my knees, hand-held, not staring at photos pinned against the wall. Too much pretensions, too much like paintings. The book gives connection. The book is a puzzle where what's falling outside yet unexpectedly can get a place. The breakfast scene of Stephen Shaw. I show you more books. This is the book Uncommon Places. I think most of you know this book and had the same strange feeling, the same strange emotion, seeing the portrait of a girl and the breakfast scene in the middle of empty parking lots, street crossings and desolate areas. And these are the 2 pages I'm talking about. And looking through the book, and it's, maybe I saw this book 30 years ago, I'm still wondering what are those pictures doing there. Maybe Marcus has visited this book, I don't know, but I hope you know this book. Photos who are individual less are better in a book. The connection is the most underestimated and the most essential of the photography. In 1992, I published a book, Poisoned Landscapes. The connection, I live in a country where the most beautiful landscapes are poisoned landscapes. Something about my book, like birds, the inducement for my being here. First, statement and connection. I show what strikes you in giving close attention to things lying within reach, and render that with a highly precise photographic registration. by achieving a sharper portrayal than the eye can directly size in specific situations, this photography distances itself from familiar perceptions. It shows my interest in details as well as my ideas about photography. And now I will show you some photos of the book without any comments. Oh, I have to tell something about this later, because it's another PowerPoint I made at home. Yes. So, I'm reading out a piece of text written in the 5B4 blogspot. It's a recense. And this guy was writing something about like birds, and I disagree with his vision. I will read it now. In Like Birds, Berger, that's me, drops his view camera to the ground for often exquisitely beautiful, spatially confusing photographs of plant life. I find the book oddly inconsistent, with half of the photographs inspired and surprising, and the other half familiar and ordinary. A brief suite of pictures made of the cityscapes might be introducing the notion of man's negative impact on nature, but the vibrancy of color and the wheels of the plant life belies such a reading. Yes, of course, Like Birds is also about nature, ditches, the sea and forest. But more important, it is the book of a bird, how a bird is looking at our world. It's not the subject that gives connection, but the way of looking at things. The city has the same value for me as an anthill in a forest. And now I will go back to the pictures in the beginning. I have to go back quickly, because I have to explain something about digital. Yes. The title of this picture is Floating. And this is a photo image of its two exposures. The first exposure was made by low tide, and the second exposure a couple of hours later on the same negative. And that's asking for problems. Of course, it's hardly possible to get a sharp negative. Putting back the slide in the cassette, a couple of hours later, taking out the slide, and I have also the shutter tension, or to touch the lens with shutter tension. So the camera is always a little bit trembling. The result is a photo with the effect of who is drunk sharpness. This photo is made in the same way. It's a two exposure image. The same process as the former one, but shot on two different negatives. A drum scan of each negative was made and stitched together by Photoshop. Now sharpness is not a problem, and moreover, it's possible to choose which negative is dominant. Mostly I'm working with a 4 to 5 inch Linhof camera. From the negatives I'm printing in a color lab, very careful, 20 by 25 inch analog sheet prints are made. These are zero, mugger or reference prints. For a light bird, of all the negatives a drum scan was made, and of the scans a lambda print in the same size of the book, trying to get the same color balance and feeling as in the analog reference print. Similarly, by switching from analog to digital, the analog print is my grip in the whole process. And I try to explain why. Because I'm working now for more than 40 years as a photographer. I'm grown up with the way of looking at photographs analog. And what I don't like very often in digital printing is the perfectness. It's too perfect. It's almost, the sharpness is different, the color balance is sometimes different, but it's very often too clean. And that's why when I'm switching to digital, I'm always using my reference print. And that's the print making in the color lab, analog to C print. Otherwise, I'm halfway, I'm going to digital, and I take the original print beside it, and then I have grip again, and etc. So I'm trying to explain that in Like Birds, it's not the subject that matters, but the way of looking at things. And yeah, I think it's the most important of the book. That gives the connection. Now, my latest project, I'm working now on this natural light, or it's mentioned, no subject was mentioned. Here, the subject is light, two planes, water below, and the sky above. That's all. No objects talking, asking for attention. For more than 30 years, I live on the lakeside, always seeing, changing the light, and I never did anything with it. Until a friend told me, talking about photography, you live in a photograph. And I woke up. And now I'm trying to catch the light for my backyard. It's a work in progress, resulting maybe in 40 or 50 images. Who knows? Last picture. It's working? Not coming? Yeah. This is the view from my room when I'm upstairs. So when I see the light is changing, now I take my camera and make a picture. Thank you.